We made it to the gym, which means we're going to start off with our first lift, which is going to be a high incline chest press. So we got a couple of warm-up feeder sets, and then we'll get into our main stimulus, and then we're going to go to some low incline as well. Move the bench a little bit, as this rack is definitely a little sideways. So first add, just put on 25s. Oh. So I originally was gonna hit some pec deck as a warm-up, but both of them were being used, so what we'll do is we will circle back to it after we've hit this exercise. So 185. Alright, so first working set, we're going to go between kind of 5 to 8 reps. So in my mind, I'm trying to aim for about 7. And then we're actually going to do a slight back off set, go higher volume. You notice we did that in yesterday's session too. So in terms of that, that's kind of what we've got planned. Probably wouldn't have done this session format if I had hit the pec deck first, actually. I think I would have just kept 2 higher volume sets, but because we can put this first one in, that's what we'll do. It's almost like it can predict performance. Alright, 2-minute rest, and then we'll hit this next set. Just that we do have a slightly higher incline angle than what traditionally is reported to be the best for upper chest. And that's where basically want to just get in a bit more of a shoulder hybrid. So a bit of upper pec, bit of shoulders, then we'll lower the bench down. Now we'll get more upper pec, and then we'll go into our fly variation. We do have some tricep dips as well within today's session. So full rounded chest, different positions, different length tensions. You always know the score whenever you're watching me. That was 8, so we just took 10 pounds off as that like slightly back down set, and now we'll go to more of a low incline, so drop the bench down slightly, and then we'll reload a little bit and then do another back off set. Alright, so low incline now, so we dropped it down a fair amount, and then we went back up in load, and so kind of a bit more comparable to a flat bench press, but now we'll get a little bit more of mid pec, lower pec contribution here as well. at the end. So another back down set, and then we'll move from the Smith to a different exercise. Take 30 pounds off, gonna do a back down set, some higher repetition volume again, and then we're into a different exercise. And you might be saying, well, why wouldn't you just crush 2 of the heavier sets and things? Right now, we're on a slightly a little bit higher calories, so I want to get a little bit more volume accumulation. I still think volume is important. And the thing is, because we are running the push-pull or pull-push leg split, then what we're getting with our exposures is 2 times a week, and then I do have some PM stuff, but essentially we have more exercises for that specific chest. So the caveat is the trade-off that intensity will keep you fresher, or kind of doing a little bit more volume where you can kind of recover from potentially that metabolic fatigue a little quicker. It remains to be decided, but I kind of like that format and it's worked for me in the past, so trying it again. So resting up here again, same thing, 2-minute rest, and then hit that set, which I think we're about that time. That done. Next exercise, which I think is pec deck. I originally had this as a warm-up, so what we are going to do is we're going to kind of change this up a little bit, and let's see. So we're just going to go and get some low volume exposure here are fairly heavy, and hopefully we're feeling warm enough. Bring the seat up a little bit. So just getting 3 reps, and then we'll take a little break and hit another 3 reps. Originally I did have a cluster warm-up, so we were just going to build up, have 3 reps, start at kind of more of a 60% 1 repetition max, go 65, 70, 75, 80, 85. Instead, decided to just jump straight into the 85, having just got a little bit of incline work done, so chest should be a little bit more warmer, a little bit safer. As you can see, we were kind of failing out on that 3rd rep anyway. And that was kind of like the point, just to get some higher intensity exposure earlier on in the session for the chest. And put this in. So, push and fly variations, I think you always got to keep them in your sessions. I don't think that you should just predominantly just only have one of the 2 patterns in there. If you did, arguably pec deck is probably going to be your number 1, maybe a cable fly, because you can essentially do different positions, a low fly, mid fly, high fly within the same setup. And then obviously similarly with what we just did there with the incline bench, is we can go high incline, mid incline, and low incline, and hit different segments of the chest in different length positions. So basically the moral of the story there is, I think like the positional variation would be important. But if you have both types of exercises, more of an abduction pattern and then more of a flexion type pattern, then you're probably onto a good thought process within your programming. At least that's my thoughts. Oh, all right, we only got 2, so that's a sign. Move on, live to fight another day. So we did have dips, but it looks like that station is being used. So we'll stick with the fly theme and get a slightly different fly with seated mid fly instead. Alright, sticking with our theme of back down sets again. I wouldn't have programmed it where we go pec deck into the seated big fly typically, but because somebody was on the dips and want to try and cramp that style working in. A lot of people are generally pretty nice with that stuff, but I always feel like it's kind of like one of those awkward things, like you rush your rest, you don't respect kind of the between set time, and so generally it'll push you pretty hard. You don't want to fail in front of somebody and stuff, but it's not my favorite thing to do. So essentially switching it up a little bit. We'll see next week when we repeat this session. Triceps will be earlier in the session, tricep dips that is, and the pec deck will be earlier in the session too. So that's where we keep it interesting and keep the variations going. So you'll notice a lot of times my rest is kind of like the 2-minute mark. Again, you can take a little shorter if it works for you. You can go a little longer if you're feeling a little bit more fatigued and want that little bit extra recovery time. Again, it's always dealer's choice. 2 minutes is generally my sweet spot. And because we are technically doing back off sets, we could, in theory, shorten the rest period, especially if we were crunched for time. So if you're time dependent, then you have to kind of shorten your rest time. And you could even use supersets, although people are now debating whether supersets are effective or not as well. They're probably just as effective and also a time saver. Alright, that's good. Alright, we'll go and see if dips is free. If not, we'll just keep working. Alright, weighted dips. So we got a slightly higher volume. Not the heaviest load that we've ever done on dips. But then we're gonna, again, do it constantly here and just get 2 sets of failure.
I'm at the playground, but she doesn't know why. Fucking runs away.
Alright, little 2-minute rest. We are gonna actually drop the weight. I thought I had a few extra reps, but again, having this later in the session, Doesn't seem to have helped. Took the 25-pound plate off, so we're just going to go 45. I want to get between 12 and 15 reps here, which should be manageable. Again, on that last set, we're hoping for a little bit more volume, but given kind of the proximity of where I put this lift, I think for next time to start off and be a bit more fresher, because those kind of percentage-based numbers have been based off where this has been in the front of the lift, not the back end. So, get our breath back. Now, we could use chains around the neck, could use a weighted vest. I honestly prefer the belt. So we'll hit a little rest pause here, get some breath back, and then we'll hit 2 more reps if we can. All right, that's good. So we're actually going to follow this up now with more triceps. So we got our good old faithful overhead. So we blast them in the more push position. Now we're going to blast them in the more shoulder flexed position. Sticking to the theme, blast some triceps. And we get a couple of cheat reps in there just to get a little bit more eccentric overload. So a little rest, we'll hit some more. Now could superset this and now hit a bicep movement, but you'll see I do have a preacher curl and a dumbbell curl in today's session. So could bring dumbbells over, but we're just going to hit them separately, which means the session format's going to be a little longer. But if again you were stuck for time, then that would be where I would think about getting those two paired up as a superset. So I think somebody asked me the question on TikTok around what position should we put, or should we train our triceps in? And while the tricep is best leveraged in that anatomical position, and so we would think that then like a pull down or some form of kickback push down is going to get the long head of the tricep and train it more effectively, given that it is biarticular. But the thing is, empirical evidence still shows that that overhead position is still training the long head too. So given kind of the lengthened positions of each area in terms of the shoulder flex position and the shoulder extended position, basically I think the short form answer is if you have both in your training program, then you're probably gonna target the long head effectively. So if you're used to doing 4 sets volume, then 2 sets here, 2 sets in the other one, which is my session format. But if you do 6 sets, then maybe split it 3-3 or 4-2. So as long as you get an exposure at the 2 different positions, I think that you're gonna grow your triceps. Now, I think we get a little bit paralysis by analysis, where it's like, traditional push down is suboptimal and things like that. I think it can be made more optimal depending on where we position our shoulder and how much control we have of the humerus. If we kind of swing down and make it more of a pull down, push down, or a pull over, push down, then obviously we're getting a bit more lat contribution and things, and traps and other stuff in there as well. So the thought process is, like, we want to isolate in a sense, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a traditional push down is bad. It's still going to get you some tricep growth. It just may not target as many muscle fibers as some of these other exercises, and these other exercises may preferentially target muscle fibers that then they might not have activation of what you get in the push down. All right, let's get some biceps. So, oh my God, we have incline bench bicep curls. And honestly, I'm still a believer in these. Again, there is that study that shows that might not be as effective as preacher curl, but it actually still does show muscle growth. And so, as we do have preacher curl in there, I think that's, again, we're getting both the benefits of both. But what I will say with that specific study that looked at the comparisons, I'm not sure how well they controlled things like shoulder flexion and then where the position of the elbow was. So whether it was a strict curl, whether they kind of used momentum rather than actually the contraction of the biceps specifically for elbow flexion. So anyway, we're going to try and get some higher volume sets of failure here. All right, 2-minute rest. So we'll just take that rest time to kind of talk again a little bit more about this. So if you don't think that this curl is a good variation to add, then do your Bayesian curls, do your preacher curls, and you should be good. Now, I like this on chest day, I've said this before, because it feels like a chest opener. That Bayesian curl can also get me that. Now, the only thing is, I don't want to spam Bayesian curls all the time, because what I do find is that there is kind of this more wrapping effect. So you are using kind of shoulder flexion, which is also an action of the biceps. But where I feel like in here, I could keep a more strict shoulder position. So yeah, you could do that in Bayesian curls, but I think you need a bench, you need a whole setup. Sometimes just the juice isn't worth the squeeze sometimes for that sort of stuff. So that's where I think, generally speaking, about 4 variations for curls is typically what I'll use. That preacher curl, this dumbbell incline curl, the Bayesian curl or face away curl, and then I generally mix it up with any other kind of dumbbell or cable curl variation. So whether it's the clown curls that we've seen previously in a couple of weeks ago, whether it's a supine cable curl, whether it's a dumbbell hammer curl, dumbbell spider curl, all of these other variations I think help just training in different positions. And so I'm going to be a big proponent of train in multiple positions, expose yourself to different length tensions, but also stay consistent within those patterns so you're not changing it every single session. But I think that was 2 minutes. I didn't actually set my timer on this one. I'm not wearing my watch today. So I'll get into second set. Alright, that's good. Alright, cool. Whoever said pumps weren't fun. Alright, triceps again, and then we've finished with biceps. Seen this one before, so shouldn't need any introduction. I'm actually going to go left side first. Jesus Christ. There we go, finally. So again, we've been using the cuff on these just to slightly shorten the moment arm. Also kind of take out any dependence of grip, and basically I find that it's a little bit better instead of having to grab onto the little black circular thing and then it kind of like compresses against the hand, which is soft boy problems, but it's just an easier way to just do these setups. So I am a proponent of the cuff, as you've already know, for this exercise, so that's why we keep it in here. And so we do have a couple more exercises left. I keep forgetting about this, but we do have some lateral raises where it'll be our highest volume in terms of reps and sets, so the highest volume load exercise technically in the program. And then we do have one last bicep finisher as well after that. So slightly longer session format than some of the other days, but we'll get it done. Alright, machine preacher curl next up. Machine preacher was taken, so just go to our standard preacher step. We are going to use straight bar.
He needs money. They were paying him all this money. He didn't know him yet. He didn't have any money.
Oh. Alright, now we're going to hit the straight bar.
What's your left? For some reason, well, that's something. Just walk. Go for travel around the world.
Shit. Alright. We got one more set here, and then we'll do a little drop set, I think, as I want to get about 12 reps in this next one. We just took 20 off, so hit this last set here, and we'll get some shoulders blasted. Very good. Okay. Whew. All right. Lateral raise time. Gonna get a fair few sets in here.
Do you mind if I work in?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Sorry.
You're good. All good. All right. So, gonna get 4 sets in here. Get for that. Like now I've just decided I've always wanted to get on stage. I just never done it, so this will be my first year.
Oh, you can definitely do it.
Which is,
you know what to do. Put your mind to it, train hard.
For sure. Which is, this is kind of like the whole thing. It's just I'm documenting that like prep series and stuff. Bit of a learning journey. And then posting some stuff on TikTok and stuff so I can argue with some science-based lifters out there.
That's fair. Hey man, I guess any publicity is good publicity to a certain extent.
Oh, 100%.
I could beat them technically, but in terms of just size and honestly strength, like, obviously not to sound like a dickhead, but like I'm decently strong for my body. Like, I played at 165 and I'm weaker than I was. I was just very lean, very strong. That's all I was doing.
Yeah, I feel that.
Man.
Last lift of the day, a little variation. We hit some hammer curls, and what I found is this machine is actually perfect to keep my elbow positioned without affecting the range of motion. So, if you get the dumbbell, you'll see better from this side. The dumbbell actually comes underneath the pad, and so I can keep my elbow back against the pad and avoid swinging. All right, a little minute 30 rest, and then we'll wrap it up. So the reason why I like this is obviously we control the amount of momentum and the amount of swing. Now there's nothing wrong with a few cheat reps here and there, but at the end of the session, nice little strict single arm hammer curl, and we can do different variations of this as well. Just find that the dumbbell fits nicely underneath this pad. So considering people right now are using benches and things like that for preacher curl variations, this is up there as well with a variation of curls that I think you should have in your program. So we'll hit this other set and then we'll get the hell out of here. And I just realized, broke my golden rule of doing the left side first. All right, we're done.